we didn't have a name for this character, and I called them and said, "Well, I want to call him Bane," and they said, "We hate that name. We'll come up with something better," but they never did. I
That
got out the old thesaurus. We all do that. I'm like, okay, let's look up evil. What's a synonym for evil? I saw Bane. I'm like, that's the name, Bane. You know, because at the time in comics, it was the '90s. You know, all the heroes and villains had these polysyllabic names. Like Death Wolf. Dark Sky, and I was like, I don't want that. Those are forgettable. And I said, I want a one name, like Elvis, like Madonna, Bane. I love that character. We needed this mystery villain, this new villain to break Batman's back. And I complained so much about it because they said, this guy's got to be popular because we were playing a 2-year event. I said, if this guy at the center of all of this, who caused all this, isn't popular, if he doesn't click with the readers, we're sunk. This thing's a bust. And Denny O'Neil, our editor, got so aggravated with me complaining about it. He said, then just go home and create it. So I went home and I knew Graham would be the first guy to draw him. So I called Graham and I did a lot of thinking out loud on the phone, and then he did a lot of thinking out loud on the phone, and we came up with this character. A little bit of Man in the Iron Mask, a little bit of some news articles I've been reading about North Korean prisons where you can serve your relative's life sentence. If they can't catch him, you go to jail. Stuff like that. Just a little bit of everything thrown into this character, but we sweated it. We really worked hard to make this character click. My very first conversation with Graham, Graham brought up the fact that, well, if he's from Central America, what about a luchador look? And Graham explained that he would have a mask. It's a comic book character. We need a mask. And he said also the luchador costume would allow us to show the effects of venom. In other words, his upper musculature would be exposed. So when he started with when he pumped up on venom, we would see his muscles grow. He'd be more defined and more swole. And so that was all Graham. And Graham thought of the venom pack on his back with the cables leading to a wrist control. I mean, I think it was either that afternoon or the next morning. There was a fax from Graham with the first turnarounds of Bane. And originally he had his mouth exposed, but the people at DC said, let's cover his eyes and his mouth, make him more mysterious looking. So that's how we got there. And he has to be the top dog. I mean, for your viewers who don't know Bane, he was raised in prison. He was born in prison to serve a life sentence. Now imagine the kind of animal you would have to become to survive that. And it wasn't enough for him to survive. He had to triumph in order to survive. And so he becomes basically the king of that prison. And in the prison, he's tormented by dreams of this bat creature. And when he escapes from the prison, he heads to Gotham because he hears about this Batman. And he fears, I'm going to face my fears. And then when he gets to Gotham, he realizes, well, I can run this place. I can take this city over. I can be top dog here the way I was top dog in prison. And that's his whole persona. When Graham and I did we did a maxi series called Bane Conquest. It was basically Bane setting out to become the #1 kingpin in the DCU's underworld, and he's taking down all these different criminal organizations, much like Genghis Khan. He's taking them down and absorbing their members into his own organization.